Hello, everyone. My name is Phil Echols, and I'm a Senior Administrator of Professional Learning for the Wake County Public School System. In this video, I want to talk a little bit about my role, my background, and even talk a little bit about some skills and attributes you might consider if you're ever looking to go into this role or this profession. And so starting off, I just want to share a little bit about my role, my position, and also some background information as far as educational background of myself. And starting off, my official title is Senior Administrator of Professional Learning. Another way you might describe that title or that role is Professional Learning Specialist. An additional way that you might describe it is by just saying I'm a teacher of teachers. I specialize in adult learning, and I work with adults to indirectly impact student learning for our school district. Wake County is the 15th largest school district in the nation. We have about 192 schools, about 11,000 teachers. And so my job is to support those teachers and even some non-instructional staff, but primarily teachers who give instruction to students or adults who support students. So it could be classroom teachers or even school psychologists or school counselors. So I support what we call professional learning communities or professional learning teams. And it's teams of those people I just described who directly impact student learning or meeting the needs of those students. Another role or way that I support educators in our district is through coaching. So primarily we look at coaching skills, like I support the coaching skills side of things. Examples of coaching skills include pausing, paraphrasing, and even the way that we pose questions. So it's mediating thinking through the questions that we ask. There are other people in our district who specifically support certain teachers like math coaches or instructional coaches that support academic language. We even have multi-tiered systems of support coaches, but my role is kind of just is focusing on the overarching coaching skills of our district. We look at things like planning conversations, reflective conversations, and even problem-resolving conversations where we go through these maps and conversations to help people think through things that they're planning, things that they're reflecting on that they have introduced to others, or even problem-resolving conversations where people might be kind of in a stuck place and need a process or some room to think through challenges to help better meet the needs of their students or even to work more effectively. Topics that I do training on include effective teamwork, running effective meetings, effective collaboration, things like being prepared for meetings with agendas, having different roles in meetings like who's facilitating or leading the meetings and who's going to take notes, who's going to keep time, having different roles, and just other structures and processes that help make teamwork or collaboration more effective. So a little bit of educational background about myself. I'm from a small town called Martinsville, Virginia. If most people know it, it's from NASCAR. We have a short track there that's in NASCAR. In my hometown, I had about 125 people in my graduating class, a little less than 500 people in my entire high school, just to give you some context or scale as to how kind of close community or close-knit my small town was. I furthered my education at Hampton University, a small HBCU in Hampton, Virginia. I majored in psychology. I came home, I taught for 2 years, and then I furthered my education with a master's in school counseling at Virginia Tech in Blacksburg, Virginia. So after obtaining my master's in school counseling, I moved to North Carolina, and that is when I became a middle school counselor, and I stayed there in that position for about 11 years. Currently, I'm a doctoral candidate at Northeastern University based out of Boston, and they have an extended campus in Charlotte. It's a hybrid program that I'm in. My concentration in my doctorate program is organizational leadership, and so I'm studying leadership models, systems of change in organization, systems and structures of change in organization. So how do organizations work more effectively with kind of a leadership lens, looking at all the different leadership styles and models that are out there. So I moved back home after I obtained my psychology degree, and I taught for 2 years, moved to North Carolina and became a school counselor. And it was somewhere around that time period of being a school counselor that I began offering trainings on my own, doing some public speaking. My mother was a teacher of 30 plus years as a first grade teacher, my father being a minister of the same church for 40 plus years. no stranger to servant leadership, and so I began kind of speaking and doing some training on my own, and that kind of led me to this lens of adult learning, where in my school I would start doing some staff trainings, whole staff trainings, and leading things on effective practices of building relationships with students, best practices for staying in touch and building, strengthening relationships with parents also. And so all of that kind of led me to this position of professional learning, where I felt like I could have a greater impact on students by helping shift and change and support the mindset of the adults in the building. So all of the teachers and other adults who work with students, it is my role to kind of work with them and help them become even more effective in what they're doing in meeting the needs of all of our students. My why or reason for going into this role, I mentioned earlier that I wanted to have an even greater impact on student outcomes and student achievement. And so I believe that working with adults and helping shift the mindset of the adults who work with students could have an even greater impact. One of the things that I love about my job is that I get to work with all 192 schools. I get to work with a wide range and variety of people in this occupation. And I think that ultimately can help have an even greater impact on the lives of our students. Some of the challenges that I find with my position is it is very challenging working with a lot of different adults. We all come to the table with different experiences, different biases, and sometimes when people don't want to be unstuck or aren't in a place where they're ready to move or make changes, then my job or my role can be very difficult when going in a school to help people shift some of their practices or even carve out new habits to work even more effectively. A little bit more around my why, which I kind of started on that earlier, is I read this book once called The Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi. And in that book, he talks about finding your blue flame. And your blue flame is where your passions intersect with your talents. And so if you can find that hot spot or that place where the things that you're really good at align with your passions, that is your blue flame. And the reason we call it blue flame is because the blue part of the flame is the hottest part of a flame, whether you're looking at a stove or when you strike a match. And so I feel like I have found a place where I can use my talents, and I found an area that I'm very passionate about with making kind of the world and society a better place by using those talents to help education for our students. I mentioned my father and my mother's background, my mother being an educator, my father being a pastor. Again, servant leadership is something that I kind of grew up and it was modeled in my home, and so it was something that I feel like is very much a part of my fabric and my DNA. And so this job comes very natural for me in supporting and listening and helping people meet the needs of students. Skills that I think are important for this job are just interpersonal skills, active listening, being able to listen and absorb what people are saying, being able to interact. Another skill that I feel like is important for this role is emotional intelligence. So looking at things like social awareness, decision making, relationship building, all of those things are really important in this role where you work with a wide range of people or meet with a lot of different people, and you're teaching them things and helping them overcome challenges that they might be facing. Effective communication and collaboration is also a vital part of this role. Other skills I would say are empathy and even just being able to work well with other people in a sense of getting along with others, or teamwork and collaboration. I took this assessment once called Strengths Finder, and one of my top strengths was called WOO, and that is winning over others, in a sense of kind of being a people collector, where I just thrive off of meeting new people and finding connections that we have and kind of building off of those things. So if you are a people person, if you have those interpersonal skills, if you're easy to talk to or a good listener, like those are all skills that are vital in this role. Other skills are presentation and facilitation skills. So being able to stand in front of people, deliver a message. Public speaking is something that is, if you're good at public speaking, you would be great in this role. And just planning and organization of training, content, and teaching other people through presentation and facilitation. Last but not least, I would share some pieces of advice if you're looking to go into this profession one day or looking to do a little more research around a professional learning specialist or a trainer for a school district or organization. I would say it would be to build bridges, not walls. And what I mean by that is just grow your network. I already mentioned those skills of interpersonal skills, being able to connect with people, being socially aware of your surroundings. But just you never know when you may have to cross back over one of those bridges that you're building with other people. And just leaving jobs on good terms, like whatever job that you have, whether you work at a fast food restaurant or whether you work at like a childcare facility taking care of children. Never leave those jobs on bad terms, because you never know when you're going to have a reference or someone kind of vouch for your work ethic or character moving forward. Another thing that I would say is reiterating the fact of public speaking. So any like public speaking contests you could get into, or like times that you are a course or class that you might take as an elective around public speaking, any opportunity you get, even like running for student council, anytime that you get to stand in front of people, share a message or talk to people or connect with people would be another great piece of advice that I would share. And finally, I would say any job that you could take on where you are interacting with people, listening to people, supporting others, like a camp counselor, a peer counselor in school, even like, again, summer camp. I know things are kind of shifting given the current state of times in the world, but any kind of job or thing that you could do where you're interacting with other people, kind of serving as a counselor or a listener or a support person, even if it is a role where you're helping other people, even if it's in your school, helping the main office or helping teachers during any off time or planning periods that you might have. So I hope this was helpful for you. I appreciate this opportunity to share a little bit about myself and my role, and best of luck to you on whatever you might decide.